Get the hell out of here! Now! You son of a bitch. I'm gonna give you something from this boy.
Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to Backtrack Cinema. In this video, we'll be counting down my top 10 80s slasher flicks. So get comfy, pop some popcorn as we get ready for some kills, thrills, and spills, and talk about some 80s horror. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Backtrack Cinema. My name is Jason, and this is where we talk movies from the past that you love and you want to see. But before we get to my ranking of my top 10 80s slasher flicks from the 80s, I want to know what your top 10 are. Let us know in the comments what your picks are, and we'll have a good discussion in those comments about some 80s slasher movies. And always remember on all my rankings that it's just my list. You guys have your own list. I'd love to hear your list. So again, this is just a personal list, but it's going to be hard to avoid the big three, if you know what I'm saying. It's going to be hard to avoid it. So without further ado, guys, let's get to the ranking. Coming in at number 10 is Child's Play from 1988.
We're friends to the end, remember?
This is the end, friend.
Child's Play is one of those movies that does have a lot of nostalgia with me. I can remember watching this as a kid and being kind of scared of it because I had a doll like Chucky. I think it's called the good guy doll in the movie, but we had something called My Buddy doll that kind of looks similar to it. So this movie was terrifying for its time, but the first movie is built on this more suspense, more thriller, more of this whodunit, because at first you're not sure if it's Andy or if it's Chucky, right? And we get this serial killer who's on the run at the beginning of this movie, and he's fooling around voodoo, and he ends up putting himself into this doll, but he needs a human host if he's gonna be able to live. So he tries to get into this little boy, Andy. I really like what Tom Holland did here with the more Hitchcock style to it. And it's a great performance by Brad Dourif. This is what I remember the most about this movie, is this Chucky. Chucky was awesome with his little one-liners. This is when he's at his most scary, I would say, in this original movie.
You stupid bitch, you filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
And you got fairly decent, serviceable characters. Chris Sarandon as the cop is pretty good. But I always like Chucky. Chucky's always or Child's Play is a good time, as always. Coming in at number 9 is Friday the 13th from 1980.
His name was Jason. I was working the day that it happened.
Yeah, the original started it all. Friday the 13th. So Halloween really started this slasher craze, what we know as the slasher genre, the golden age of slasher. Friday the 13th comes out and just puts it into high gear. Friday the 13th amped up the blood. It was like a teenage date movie to go and have fun with, a fun slasher flick. But I think there's some real serious dark tones in this movie and in the atmosphere. I really like the camp atmosphere. Someone like me who likes the woods a lot and all that kind of stuff, I really enjoy the camp atmosphere in this. And it's not a very good whodunit, mind you, because Mrs. Voorhees shows up at the end and she shows up out of nowhere, so they could have handled that better. But when she does show up, she takes over, man. And it's just a great performance by Betsy Palmer. She's creepy. And this hateful vengeance that she has because of her son drowning, blaming it on counselors not paying attention, being irresponsible, if you want to take a theme away from it. The hatred the woman has when she starts bitch slapping Alice around. The kills are all great by Tom Savini. Did such a great job of the kills. My personal favorite would be Marcy when she gets the axe in the face. Just gnarly, man. Gnarly. When that axe hits her, the lamp kind of moves to show you that it's a really blunt force trauma, and then she falls down, her jaw drops open. Love it. I absolutely love Friday the 13th. I think it's a great slasher flick. Coming at number 8 from 1981 is Friday the 13th Part 2. So in this movie, guys, we get the sequel. Friday the 13th Part 2. They didn't know what they were going to do with it. They go, well, had this idea, well, why don't we have Jason run around? Well, how could Jason run around? He's freaking dead. So This is where the continuity went to crap, because you can never really make sense of it. And there's two sides you sit on. Either Jason was never dead and he was out there running around like a hillbilly all this time, or when Mama died, part of the curse is Jason rises. The love for a son, the love for a mother ignites this vengeful killing spree. And this one, they really did a better job at the characters. All the characters I really like. I think they're fun and everything. And Ginny is a top-notch final girl. One of the best final girls, I would say. She's smart. She's pretty. She's sarcastic. I love that sarcastic nature, the way her and Paul have this dynamic with each other. They're a lot of fun. The kills are great, too. Again, I'm not sure if they're as good as the first one, but Mark in the wheelchair is great. Absolutely love that kill for sure, especially when it's so iconic when it starts rolling down the stairs, the thunder and lightning, his wheelchair's going down the stairs. So that's good stuff. And I like the psychological component in this one, how Ginny tricks Jason by putting Mama's sweater on, and it confuses Jason. I just really like that moment, tapping into seeing Jason's mind more, how he's like this simple child. Love that. That's great stuff. And the campfire tale Paul tells. I love that, because that really sets up what we know Jason to be, his characterization. You know, how he thinks, how he feels, what he's about. You know, he's just this, stay out of Crystal Lake. You stay out of Crystal Lake or he's going to kill you. And what happens is when Jeff and Sandra cross that line, cross the border into Crystal Lake, it sets him off this killing spree that goes into Friday the 13th Part 3, Part 4. And Jason lives, he pops up, he goes right back to the lake. It's all set up from that story. And that story's awesome. I like the atmosphere with it, the slow camera kind of moving in. Great stuff, Friday the 13th Part 2. Coming in at number 7 is A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. This is a great sequel, I think. And I think it's gotten its fans over time. Because they really... It's an odd movie. It's an odd movie to watch within the continuity of the franchise, because Wes Craven sets up all these rules about this demon stalker who gets you in your dreams, and he can only get you in your dreams, and he has to be pulled out from the dream into the real world. You got to have a hold on him. So he sets up all these rules, and this movie does completely something different. It does this idea of Freddy slowly getting into your consciousness and kind of taking you over as this avatar or something like that. So Jesse is having all these dreams. He can't sleep. He's dreaming of Freddy, and Freddy slowly starts taking him over into the real world. Because when you see Freddy in the real world, they don't show it visually, but it's Jesse. I think the idea is that's Jesse with a glove on. And I think that's why people are kind of like, well, looking at him, whoa, like at the pool party scene and everything like that. But yeah, a strange movie, but Freddy looks awesome in it. He's evil. I love the makeup on him, the way he looks at everything. That pool party is awesome. Just the way he stands, and he's got his arms back up like this, and he's looking like this. He's just got this stare when he goes, "You're all my children now," and all this kind of stuff. And the kill on his buddy there when Freddy comes out of him and he stands up and he guts him like a turkey. I just love this movie. This movie has so much going for it. I'm just not a big fan of how they broke the rules. I'm pretty big on, keeping things they set up from the original. And that's why Dream Warriors, I think, did a better job, and why I think it's a better movie. But Nightmare on Elm Street 2, man, for a good old slasher flick, I love it. Good old 80s slasher flick. Coming in at number 6 is 1983's Psycho 2.
I'm sorry, Mother. I didn't mean to insult you.
Psycho 2. So we got 23 years later, Norman Bates coming back. Norman Bates gets released from this mental hospital. And we got the obsessed Lila Loomis, who was Marion Crane's sister from the first movie, obsessed of getting him back in jail. She doesn't feel like he belongs out in society. So him and his daughter start playing these games of leaving him notes from Mother, prank phone calls, shit like that, and they just don't realize what they're doing. They don't realize that they're playing with a mind that they don't understand. This starts setting Norman back into schizophrenia state that we saw him in the first movie. And they add this little twist in there that the mother from Psycho, the first mother, was not really his mother, that this character of Mrs. Spool gave up Norman when she had him, and that's his real mother. So she's been doing all these killings. That's the big twist. Now they abandoned that in Psycho 3, but that was ballsy. That was ballsy to do, man. That was really ballsy to do. But this movie is great in this. Very character driven. It's got some good kills. One of the most memorable kills is Lila Loomis getting it the knife in the mouth by Mrs. Spool. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And I think Anthony Perkins really brings the acting, it brings the performance right top notch in this. Like he's right back in the Norman Bates, and he's quirky and eccentric just like always, and it's this fantastic movie to watch. If I could just tell a little story about this one, I can remember me being a kid looking at the TV guide going, "Oh mom, Psycho 2 is coming on, but it's not going on till midnight or something like that." And she goes, "If you could stay up that late, you can watch it." Of course, I fell asleep, but I remember waking up in the middle of the night to that knife kill in the mouth. It just imprinted on me so much, that kill, man. So just one of my favorite kills for sure in horror. Coming in at number 5 is 1982's hospital slasher Visiting Hours. All right, guys, Visiting Hours. I love this flick. This is one that a lot of people I feel have not seen. They don't talk about. It's a great slasher flick from the 80s. Great hospital slasher flick. We get this killer named Cole who works at this TV station, and we get this journalist, Deborah Ballin, who fights for females' rights. She's a feminist activist. She's, alpha female who doesn't, stands up for women. Great noble thing. And this sets this killer off because this killer, for some reason, he hates women. He's really a bigot, though. He hates a lot of things. So when Deborah Ballin stands up for this woman, this sets this killer off, and he follows her home. He tries to kill her. He doesn't succeed, and the whole movie is him trying to get this woman in the hospital. It's fantastic. It's about the killer, though. The movie is about this killer named Cole, and this guy doesn't wear a mask. This guy lives next to you in your apartment. This guy is creepy. You don't really know what he's going to do. And one of the most creepiest things he does is that he takes pictures of his victims while they're dying. And then he makes like a skull mask out of all the pictures. It's creepy. It's creepy. Like they really push. I feel like for 1982, they're pushing the limits with this movie. This movie's fantastic, and you get a really decent third act. I don't find it slow at all. I like what it's trying to say about the effects violence has on people, what that violence could potentially make them do, how they're going to turn out to be, and how this pacifist feminist has to use violence. She's resorted to using violence as her last resort to kill this killer because she runs into this situation where she has no choice. So there's a lot to say there about the effects of violence and trauma and stuff like that. So check out Visiting Hours, man. Visiting Hours is absolutely fantastic. Coming in at number 4 is Friday the 13th, Part 4, The Final Chapter. Yet another Friday movie, but I love Friday the 13th. That's my horror franchise, and this one is your template on making a slasher flick. It's just a perfect slasher flick, and its pacing, its villain, the characters are great. The characters remind me of something out of a John Hughes movie, and of course John Hughes was getting popular around this time, so that makes sense, right? So the characters are good. They introduce Tommy Jarvis. That sets us off into this Tommy Jarvis trilogy. And we could all, as horror fans, I think we could all relate to young Tommy. Trish is great. The big sister who does anything to protect her younger brother. Absolutely fantastic. But Ted White is awesome as Jason Voorhees. He's my absolute favorite Jason Voorhees. He's vicious, he's brutal, he's swift, he's fast, he's menacing. He has this presence where he just towers. He feels like he's just towering over everyone. Busting through windows, busting through doors, chopping through doors, throwing people out of windows, grabbing on the people. Just very aggressive Jason in this. And the kills, bringing back Tom Savini for the kills. Amazing. You got so many great kills in here, but I think probably my favorite would be Axel's with the surgical saw. He twists the freaking bitch's head right around. Absolutely love this, but so many kills are really great, and especially Jason's death. The way they decided to kill Jason was amazing, with chopping his head to the side of his face. He slides down on that machete. It's fantastic. This movie is just great. I always have a blast with Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Coming at number 3 is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Perhaps if there was more of me to spread around.
So we finally got the sequel we wanted from the original Nightmare on Elm Street, this one directed by Chuck Russell. And I really like how they set up Nancy as this mentor, how she teaches them to use these gifts that they can have in their dreams. And that way they have some sort of survival tactic when they're going up against Freddy.
Where did you learn that rhyme?
And the one thing this movie does well is just the characters. The characters are fantastic. I mean, they're all great with Taryn and Kincaid. There's Philip and Kristen. You know, Patricia Arquette was fantastic in this. And it's just a movie that's filled with great characters and great kills, really creative kills. Mostly Philip. The one eye that stands out, I think that stands out in everyone's mind, is Philip's death, where Freddy walks him along like a puppet, like on strings and stuff, and the veins are coming out of him. And when he appears to Philip, where he gets really big, and he's just, I mean, he's at the foot of your bed, Freddy, and the way he just goes, Freddy's fantastic in this. Robert Englund really brings that great balance of funny Freddy and dark Freddy and mixes it into a perfect combination, I think. This is the last really great Freddy I think we really got, except, well, New Nightmare. New Nightmare was a good Freddy too, actually. I should say that. The more meta approach, the meta Nightmare on Elm Street movie. But this movie does a good job, and they build up upon the lore of Freddy with Freddy's mom. She's the nun helping the doctor out how to destroy Freddy, and having that story of how he's the bastard son of 1,000 maniacs, how Amanda Kruger was raped by 1,000 men and she was then stuck in this ward for 3 days. I do like that. The balls they had to kill Nancy off, kill one of our favorite final girl off, I do like. It's just kind of the way she died. I feel like she would never fell for something like that. But I do like the way she dies. Like, I do like when Freddy finally sticks the blades on her and he's like, die, and he grabs her hair and he's like, it's just vicious, you know what I mean? It's just vicious, and he's been waiting for this for so long kind of thing. But Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is awesome. It's such a fun slasher flick. Coming at number 2 is Jason Lives from 1986.
That really scared the shit out of me.
I absolutely love Jason Lives. Jason Lives is awesome. You know, this is where they took this real meta approach and started having fun with the Friday the 13th franchise. And I love the old school Frankenstein-ish, Dracula, old school Universal monster movie approach to this. I mean, the thing would look awesome in black and white for sure. This movie would look awesome in black and white. Tom McLaughlin even said that. I think the humor works. I think when it's trying to be scary, it's great. The kills, I think the kills got butchered, but I still think the kills are pretty good. With when Jason bends the sheriff's back in half, that's a great kill. But what stands out to this movie for me is that opening. That opening is so good. Them going to the grave, digging up Jason, because Jason is haunting Tommy after all these years. Even though he's dead, it haunts him. He can't get Jason out of his mind. He can't get any rest. So he wants to dig up Jason and burn him, destroy him completely, right? And the lightning why not? Lightning, right? Works every time. Brings back Jason, and him coming out of that grave, seeing the maggots on him, just the way he looks and everything like that was fantastic. I just love this opening to this film. The music and the score is really good in it. But I also like the way they killed Jason in this by putting him back in his original resting place in Camp Crystal Lake. I think that is a fantastic way to end this, and it's so cinematic at the end, the fight between Tommy and Jason. But it's one of these movies that I always go back to, and I can watch at any time of the day just because of how many genres are in it, really. You get some humor, you get slasher, you get really dark tones of horror in spots. It's kind of like paced like an action film. There's even a car chase in it. They flip an RV. They do so many things to this movie that give it such a quick pace, and I just love this flick. This flick is absolutely fantastic. All right, guys, before we get to number 1, here are 5 honorable mentions. But coming at number 1 as the best slasher flick of the 80s for me is A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984.
Please, God.
This is God.
What can be said that hasn't already been said about this freaking movie? This movie has one of the best slasher villains of all time in Freddy Krueger. Robert Englund, what he brought to this is absolutely fantastic. Mixing a little bit of Nosferatu, kind of, the way he creeps around with a little bit of James Cagney, as Robert Englund says it. The way his posture sometimes is very, like his glove is almost like a gunslinger. You know what I mean? Like the way he drops his glove. And just the creativity that Wes Craven had to make this villain and make this, like, make a glove, like make a weapon that is actually on his hand, and it's these knives, right? It's what a fantastic approach. And by this time, let's face it, the slasher genre, they were churning them out. They were a dime a dozen. It was getting stale. Wes Craven comes along. He breathes new life into the genre by going, okay, we got a killer that gets you in your dreams. Everyone has to sleep. All have to sleep, so there's no getting away from this. And this forces our heroine, Nancy Thompson, to fight back. And she's into survival. She doesn't take shit from anybody, and she has to learn to face the fear.
And he didn't hang himself. It's this guy. He's after us in our dreams.
She has to learn to face it, because you're not running away from this guy. You know what I mean? And it's just a fantastic idea for a slasher film. But on paper, I can imagine it would also sound very silly, but it's all in execution. And the way Wes Craven executed this, it was fantastic. This is horror gold, man. Some of the most iconic moments in this, like Tina's death, is just absolutely fantastic, the way they did that. Tina in the body bag at the high school, the glove coming up through Nancy's legs in the bathtub, him coming down through the wall, just so many things that are just etched in our minds. The only reason this movie is like 5 out of 5 perfect freaking gold, like A+ shit. It's just that freaking ending where he pulls mom through the window. If they just would have focused on the kids skipping, singing the song, and kind of leaving at that, leaving you with this unsettled feeling. Perfection. But the first half of this movie is absolute horror perfection, man, in my opinion. I absolutely love A Nightmare on Elm Street. I love watching it every single time. It's so fantastic. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in to Backtrack Cinema as we count down my top 10 80s slasher flicks. I hope you had a good time with this one. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, like the video, share it around. I really appreciate it. Again, comment down below and let me know your favorite slasher flicks. My name is Jason, and this is Backtrack Cinema, and I will see you on the next video. Cheers.